I'm going to try something new, something that I haven't done before, and that is record a YouTube video live on stream. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, hello. I may just re-record this after stream, but I have one more thing to do before I end stream, and that is set my predictions. I set up this graphic, and there's another bracket below that I downloaded an easier to understand version of the bracket. So if you guys want to chime in with your predictions, I am gonna go over my predictions live right now, and feel free to object to my opinion and whatnot. So I'm gonna get straight to it. In Group A, we have Consus, Sheena, Finbar, Blinky, CG, and Swan Gambit. I'm going to say straight off the bat, let me pull up my pencil here. This color. I'm going to say straight off the bat, Blinky, I predict him to finish number 1 in the group. Consus, number 2. I think those are pretty easy picks to call. You might switch them. You might say Consus 1, Blinky 2, whatever. Now, Sheena, I think he did well, but he has a harder time in the LAN tournaments with his nerves and whatnot. And because of that, I would take Finbar, number 3, out of this group. CG, he's talented, but he hasn't improved that much over last year. So I would say this is not the year for him. He could potentially have a comeback next year or whatever. And Swan Gambit, I simply don't know enough about him. He could absolutely surprise me, but I just don't know anything. And he'd held his own in the Poland tournament, but that's about it. That's all I know. And then we have Group B. Okay, this might shake things up a bit. This is because Bag is in this group now. We can put Bag here. Because Bag is in this group, I don't know who the hell's going to make it out. I would say Topodic won. Simply because he had a smashing performance at the EMEAs. That's my first prediction. And then I think my bias is towards Zigzag for number 2. Because he's been grinding a lot and he's evolved from just an NMPZ player. He smashed the moving games in the APAC early on. He did well enough to get himself into a qualifying spot immediately straight out the group. So who am I taking after that? The problem is all 4 of these guys I could see shaking things up. Any of them could somehow beat everybody else. Debre was definitely a dark horse. I thought he could go far. Looking back at some of Crook's games, he was getting really dangerous guesses in the EMEAs. And Bag, I think, will do well. I don't know if he'll make it out of the group. We'll see. I think my number 3 pick would be Orlando. That's just my personal opinion. If anybody wants to object to that. Bag 3, I low-key understand. You know what? I'll also go with Bag 3. Simply because he's got momentum. What else can you say? Okay. So there's that. And then Group C. Group C, I go with Karania. I go with RC number 1. RC, easy call. We didn't get to see him compete in any of the regional tournaments, only the wild card. But he's been killing it in the Rainbow dailies. He's showed no signs of slowing down. I would say he's in his peak form, continuing on his momentum from last year's World Cup. So I put him number 1. I put Karani number 2 because he had a crazy APAC performance. You think Bag's going to grind? He could. I think the Insta sending will definitely shake some of these other guys up. So yeah, I put RC1, Karania 2. Who is my number 3? Okay, well, I think Jake Lyons. I admire Jake Lyons' grind, and I sometimes enjoy his content. I think this might not be his year. He definitely gets in his own head too much and is like really critical. And I hear it when I watch his videos, his Road to the World Cup series, he just has like really negative dialogue with himself. And I don't know if that's the mentality that helps you win, especially in a scenario like this, which is already really high pressure. So I don't know if this is Jake Lyons' year. Armani, I think, will improve next year, but I don't see him taking it all the way because he still really mains NMPZ. I believe that he's probably worked a lot on moving, but yeah, I think he'll have a much better performance next year. I expect to see him back next year for sure, but I don't think this is his year. Krani 2, simply because of how strong he was in APAC. And then Spaghetti, again, I think he just doesn't make it out of this group. If there's only 3 slots, I have to give the third one to Kratzo. Kratzo had a really good showing at the EMEAs. He beat Blinky, which is really hard to do. So I have to give him some credit for that. Yeah, I think Kratzo takes 3. So that's Group C. Now, Group D. I would say Group D is potentially the easiest group. And by easy, I mean still like extremely difficult. But just relative to what we've already seen, this pool is probably the most prone to like a dark horse or like a wild card storming through. I think the only person I would guarantee makes it through is Gingy. I think no matter what happens, Gingy will make it into the final day. And beyond that, I mean, Kodiak is strong, but he looked stronger last year, I would say, compared to how strong he is this year. Mata, I haven't seen enough of him. And Eamon, I don't know, dude. I think Eamon's in also peak form. I could be wrong. I don't know enough about him, but I've seen enough to be like confident in his skill, but not necessarily in this group. I think I would take MK second because I've seen MK do some. I've seen MK perform really well under a lot of different circumstances. The only reason he lost in the tournament I hosted 2 weeks ago was a week ago was because of a cheater or potential cheater, I should say. I don't want to slander anybody, but yeah, I think MK is capable of doing some serious damage because him and Gingy have the same style. They both send really early, and their plonks are really strong. And you know what? I'm Canadian, so my bias goes towards the Canadian player who not only outperformed everyone's expectations last year, but held his own against people like Gingy and Orlando, and came third in the Americas. So even though maybe Kodiak could also break out of this group with relative ease, I think I'll take Foul. And yeah, that's my bracket, honestly. So, okay. So now we have that. Let's move down here. I have Bag ticking B3. So let me... Oops. So let me draft this up real quick. So, Zigzag versus Finbar. This is a really tough matchup to start already. I might take Zigzag by like a hair, low key. But Finbar could absolutely do serious damage. And then Blinky, unfortunately, would beat Zigzag. That's the pretty easy call there. And then, I mean, Zigzag could beat Blinky. You never know. But I just think Blinky is only leveling up. So that's the easy call there. Consus versus Bag. Bag could go far, but Contis' guesses have always been really consistent, and he showed no signs of slowing down. So I take Contis here, and then I take Contis over Topodic, but I believe Topodic beat Contis in the EMEAs, so it's really a toss up. That's just my gut instinct is to put Contis. MK versus Kratsu. This is rough. Who is taking MK versus Kretzo? I think Kretzo might have a bit more experience in the LAN tournament division, which would give him an edge in terms of the pressure environment. MK seems pretty like stone cold, but I don't know. I like Kretzo's odds, but I could definitely see this going the other way. And then, unfortunately, Kretzo is a great player, but RC has a relatively simple path to the quarterfinal here. In our last section of the bracket, Karania versus Fao. I definitely have to take Karani here. I see him as a stronger player. Karani versus Jinji. Wow, that's a rough matchup. I mean, Jinji is strong, but I did see Jake Lyons take moving games off of him and push him to the brink. He beat Jake Lyons at 3-2 and had to like reverse sweep, I think. So Jinji's not like unbeatable, and Karani is an incredibly well-rounded player as far as I'm aware. So I believe Karani could hold his own in any format, and he would probably take the game over Jinji in that case. So then my final matchup would be the result of Consis versus Karania and Blinky versus RC. Oh my goodness. This is rough. Bro. What do you guys think? I think Consis would beat Karania. I think Karania is another player who could have a much better year next year on top of the success he's already had this year. Consis is just like, he's proven too much. Of course, him and Blinky both lost matches in the EMEAs, but I think that was bait. And they'll come back even stronger than before in the World Cup. You take Blinky over RC. Okay, that's fair. But if I'm looking at this match, I'll take Consis. I think he's still got the magic touch. Personally, you take Blinky over RC. I would take RC over Blinky. Honestly, I haven't seen as much from Blinky. I believe that he's still one of the best players in the world, maybe even top three. And he could absolutely take this match. This is very much a toss-up for me. But from what I've seen from RC, he's just like he breezed through that Andorra qualifier. And from a stats perspective, if I'm looking at this year alone, Blinky had a much easier time qualifying for the EMEAs because it was 10 spots out of 16 available, whereas RC had to get 1 spot out of 8 available. So statistically, RC proved himself through much harsher odds. Of course, their results were almost the exact same last year as well. Blinky just placed 1 rank higher than RC, being a finalist versus RC a bronze medalist, if you will. You think Blinky's going to be world champion? I mean, it's definitely possible. It could be his year. I'll take RC here, though. And who would be champion in this case? Honestly, if I'm going on my gut, I think RC could potentially be the best GeoGuessr player in the world this year. I haven't seen anything from any of these 3 guys. Karania, I just sort of became aware of this year, of course, but any of these 3 guys could take it in my eyes. And I suppose many people would be still rooting for Blinky. They would still have him as their number one. And I definitely see that. I just think RC has improved the most based off of like from that group of individuals who were already on top of the world last year. Again, I could very much be wrong. And again, it's just my opinion. So with that, we'll wrap up the video. Thank you guys. If you're on YouTube, thank you for watching. My name is Jordan, and hit that sub and like to stay updated for new videos. But that's all from me for now. And toodles.